Eight ranked teams fell this past weekend in college football. Week 7 is one of the better weeks we've seen. It eventually led to the main storyline we'll start here on the Brotherhood Ballad and Rombough Show podcast. James Franklin fired after, I believe, 12 seasons in Happy Valley. This was a little bit of a shock, but I think it would have been an absolute shock if you were to have told anybody that 15 days after Penn State was up on Oregon in overtime that James Franklin would be fired after losing three straight for the Nittany Lions. It's an unbelievable turn of events. That makes the ninth coach firing that we've seen thus far in football. Your guys' thoughts, Dad. We'll start with you. James Franklin. Do you think he deserved it? And what do you think about the timing of it all?
Well, actually, no, I don't think he really deserved it because I know those three losses were pretty unexpected. But I mean, look at the whole body of work. He's done a great job in that. I mean, if he completely collapses and lose like five or six in a row, maybe, but three, they just pull the trigger so quickly. It's kind of what have you done for me lately type mentality. And he could pick up a job anywhere because he was at Vanderbilt, he was good. He had an incredible record the last three seasons in that, so he did good. But they just pull them so quickly. Like we've lost like nine, 10 coaches or so, one in the pros and all the rest in colleges. And so it's just they just go wild. And you just can't with this NIL stuff, everybody's supposed to be good like immediately. They have no breathing room at all. And that's what makes it so tough. And they're trying to figure out Penn State, they figured them out. So if they got to use an interim coach the rest of the year, you wonder who's going to take it. There's rumors who might want to go for it, but that's really rough, to have such a good record and they let him go real, real fast. But whatever you guys' opinions, go for it.
All you, Justin.
Yeah, I mean we can just go straight into the Big Ten, the picture, the way it's kind of shaped out. A lot of unexpected things have happened in the Big Ten. Indiana, I want to give a PSA. I'm officially joining the bandwagon of Kurt Cignetti and that squad there in Indiana. He was a great coach at James Madison, and he's brought this Indiana squad to a 17 and 2 record in his 19 games, which is absolutely crazy the way he's brought that program up to such a high level in such a short amount of time. Right now, them and Ohio State are my number one and number two in the Big Ten, along with I think Oregon's a lot better than what they were rated by the AP poll, being number 8. I think it was a tough game for Oregon. I still think that they're a very solid team, and then USC and Nebraska and Washington I think need to be mentioned in the Big Ten as well. It's such a deep conference, and I wanted to Alex, we can start with you. Between the Big Ten and the SEC, which one is better and which one has the more quality teams in your opinion?
The SEC will always reign will always reign supreme in my mind. There will never be a football conference in our lifetime that's better than the SEC. Um, Alabama is you could call Alabama hot right now, especially after Missouri was on a 15 game home winning streak and Alabama ended that. It got dicey towards the end, but they pulled away with that win on the road, considering how well Missouri's been of late. That's a damn good win. That's a quality win that's going to look good on the record for the playoff committee come that time. Um, I know we discussed last week, and I'm still going to remain with this pick, but I do think Texas A&M is the best team in the SEC up to this point. I really like Ole Miss. They're looking pretty good because if you look at them outside of the big dogs, the powerhouse schools like Alabama, Georgia, generally Auburn, those guys. I love Texas A&M right now. I like what they've got going. And then kind of quickly to flip it over to the Big Ten, you always have those schools like now Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, etc. But I kind of like the direction that the SEC is heading with like the teams that are doing well outside of Alabama and Georgia, like Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin and those guys down at in College Station and stuff. So I always think the SEC will be the best conference for football.
I think mentioning kind of tagging along to what you were saying, I think with college football we've seen the most parity ever. I think this is the greatest time to be a college football fan, not only for a better chance of your squad being able to make a playoff, like ASU kind of coming out of nowhere last year, SMU teams like that, but just the parity overall. You're seeing these recruits really have an opportunity to shine in smaller schools that would normally not get these high-ranked recruits. We're seeing it at Indiana. We're seeing some real studs go to like even G5 programs we've seen. I mean, your guy on North Texas, Metamaker or
Best to maker, yeah.
Estimaker, he's a stud, and I think he could definitely be thriving in a Power Four conference in the next couple seasons. But I think the parity is as great as it's ever been in college football, and I mean, it's so fun, like you mentioned, just those teams that are kind of coming out of nowhere, like Vanderbilt. We're seeing them have huge matchups. They'll have a huge one this weekend, as Vanderbilt host LSU. Now, switching over, we got to do a weekly segment here on the Rombough Show. We have Scotty's Big 12 rankings. Now, there was some upsets over the weekend. Iowa State fell to Colorado. We saw the BYU and Arizona duel it out in double overtime. So give us your top 12 or the Big 12 rankings and kind of how it shakes out.
Well, yeah, this is always extremely tight. I mean, between from the fifth place all the way down to the 13th place teams are bunched up in the power ratings. They're only 20 spots away. Um, Iowa State's fifth and they're 30, and CU's 50 and they're 13. So many of them are bunched up together. But the big four, of course, Texas Tech, I got them number one. Pretty sure going to take it. They've got so much talent there in Lubbock there, and they're ranked nine in the power ratings. And then BYU's number two, a 17 rating, and then Utah 23 rating overall power. They're going to play each other in the Holy War next week or this coming week. So a lot on the line there. And then Cincinnati's four, and they're ranked 25th. So, and then on down there is Iowa State's fifth, and they're 30th. ASU sixth, 33, real close again. Baylor's seventh, 36 power rating. And right in behind them, Arizona's eighth with a 38 power rating, and Houston's ninth, 39 power rating, right next door to each other. And K State's 40, and they're 10th. So look how bunched up. TCU's 43, and they're 11th. Then Kansas right behind them at 45, 12th, and CU's 13th, 50th rating. So they are so bunched up. And then UCF is 14th in their power rating 66. West Virginia's 15th, power rating 75. And Oklahoma State 16th with a power rating of 97. So we do have 13 teams ranked in the top 50 in the country. So that's pretty good. That's right up there with the other conferences. So we've got some really good programs and pretty dramatic wins like, well, BYU and U of A went to that double overtime down there in Tucson. What a game. And then K State made a good comeback and beat TCU. They had a slow start this season, but it looks like they're back now. And so they moved them all the way up to 10 in that. So really strong in that. And we'll see what goes on next week. There's some big games coming up. Houston and Arizona, neck and neck. And they got to play in Houston there, but it's a morning game, 9 a.m. in Tucson. So U of A's really got to be jacked up to try to start a game so early for them at 9 a.m., 11 Houston time. So that's going to be tough. So again, the Big 12 is so bunched in the middle that, it's one week you could be up five spaces or down five spaces or even seven spaces. It's that close.
Is that the
And that,
earliest start time it's ever been at Tucson Stadium?
well, since the game's in Houston, yeah, it's 11 in Houston, but nine in Tucson, it probably is. And because I was concerned about that if we played UCF last year in Orlando, I said if they have an early start time, it'd be like nine in Tucson if it were noon in Orlando. And now they got to do it again with an early start time, so that's going to be a problem there. And U of A doesn't has only won one road conference game in the last 2 years, so they've really got to be ready to try to pull this out after a tough loss last Saturday there in Tucson.
Now, Alex, you were mentioning the SEC and just the absolute bunch up. I mean, Dad, just bringing up like you mentioned, the 13 teams in the top 20 or the top 50 for the Big 12. The SEC, out of the 16 teams, Alex, not even looking, how many of them do you think are ranked out of the 16 SEC teams?
9.
10. They have 10 teams in the top 25. Now, I want to throw a question to you. So, of the top four currently in the SEC, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Bama, and Georgia. Obviously, you mentioned earlier that you have Texas A&M winning that. Of those four, if three of them were to make the playoff tomorrow, which one are you leaving out?
Georgia.
Why is that?
I think I think in due time they're gonna get fraud checked. I don't think they finish. They might finish fourth in the SEC, but I don't think they finish in the top 12.
I think that Georgia Tech game at the end of the year could very well be a deciding factor for both of those squads
I
because
mean, look
Georgia
what
Tech
happened
very well
last
could
year
be
with that
undefeated.
game
You said what?
when they played last year.
Mm-hmm. Seven overtimes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a testament to the SEC where Georgia's like predominantly been either the best team or the second best team. It just shows how deep that conference is now. Weekly, I'm sure you guys will have some SEC characters, but to get us started off with our Heisman top fives, I'll start us out. I have a 1A and a 1B because I think these guys are neck and neck. My 1A, my number one player for the Heisman, if it were to be tomorrow, would be Ty Gunslinger Simpson. I think he's been dialing it up for the Roll Tide. He's played an unbelievable season so far. Obviously, Florida State, he was subpar to what he's playing right now. But I mean, 23 of 31 passing, 200 yards, and three touchdowns over a really quality SEC opponent in Missouri. He played unbelievable. Another guy that played pretty good, not his best performance, but Fernando Mendoza got the W for Indiana. He did have that pick six that he threw, but I think him coming back from that and leading the charge and getting that win over Oregon was huge for him. Three and four, I have Ruben Bain and Carson Beck of Miami. I think Miami is the best team in the ACC by a long shot, and those two are really leading the charge. They had that bye week this week, but I think Miami very well could just run the table. I think RTT, as my dad said, it's you can pretty much write that in pen. Number five, Dante Moore. I don't want to let it slide too far because obviously he got that loss handed to him by Indiana, but I think he's should be hopefully in New York at the end of the year because he has the talent to be a potential number one pick and obviously probably a first rounder. Now, honorable mentions I have Marcel Reed and Julian Sand respectively. I think they're playing unbelievable, but they couldn't quite crack that top five. So, Dad, will go to you next. Your Heisman top five after week seven.
Well, okay, I got Carson Beck out of Miami, and I got Ty Simpson there, Alabama. I got Fernando Mendoza at Indiana, Julian Sand at Ohio State, and Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State there. Marcel Reed out of A&M, and USC. Jaden Mayavea, I guess is how you pronounce it, is there at USC. Popped up under on the radar screen there. They're doing pretty good at SC there, so I put him in. And but again, there's a lot of others too that should be mentioned, but those are the ones I had.
Alex.
Yeah. So for me, I think bumping up into my solo first place is Carson Beck, even though they had an idle week, didn't they, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I think Carson Beck is the best quarterback in college football right now. A close second, I do have Ty Simpson. And then my third spot, I have Fernando Mendoza. Um, and then some other honorable mentions would have to be, well, I guess not honorable mentions. I forgot to add in there. Probably actually, I can't decide if I want Dante Moore in between Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza or after Mendoza. But either way, he's in that top four for me. And then in fifth is probably either Trinidad Chambliss, Julian Sane, or Jeremiah Smith.
I think that's a high quality list. I think for me, for this week, I think we have to talk about Alabama. Ty Simpson, he's my player of the week, as I mentioned his stats earlier. And a stat I had to throw at you guys this week. Kalen DeBoer obviously got a lot of slack for that loss at Florida State. A lot of Bama fans were really complaining and really wanting him gone, which is ridiculous. But Kalen DeBoer, after winning three straight games against top 25 opponents in three consecutive weeks, he's done what Nick Saban never did at Alabama. Only one time he did in his 17th season. So Kalen DeBoer, I think he's on track for Not getting fired. So that's really good what he's doing there in Tuscaloosa. So, Dad, did you have some players or some shout outs you wanted to give for this week?
Well, actually, not specifically players, but just some shout outs for some teams. And that certainly to Indiana for winning at Oregon, because just about everybody went for Oregon because of home field. But if you went for Indiana, like, well, Pat McAfee sure made a big deal about it on game day. He picked Indiana, he went against everybody else. So he'll just lay it out on the line there. And Texas for beating Oklahoma because Texas is having difficulties with the quarterback issues have mentioned it, and they go and win by a pretty substantial margin. So hats off to Texas, and then SC's doing pretty good too. They beat Michigan. I think they're like 5-1 now. So I put a plug in for them because they've been flying in there under the radar, and they're still doing pretty good. And then Pitt for beating Florida State. That was pretty good to pull that out. And that, and then K State for coming back after a tough beginning and then to beat TCU. So I want to give to five schools for winning some big games this weekend and that. And I mean, there's others I can mention, but I just give a big shout out to those teams.
Alex, any shout outs?
No, I don't have any shout outs to give, but I do have some things I need to get off my chest. It's about time. I've been waiting too long for this. Luke Fickle, you're done. I don't care what it takes. You need to get the hell out of Madison. We don't want you anymore. You can't beat anybody worth a crap. You can't even beat Maryland. You get blown out by Iowa on homecoming. What the hell is wrong with you? You're done. I don't want to see your face ever again. You should be gone before the Ohio State game. Ohio State's going to put up 70 points on Wisconsin on Saturday. I hate to say it, but it's going to happen. I don't want to see it, but there's no choice. The best win they've had all season is against Middle Tennessee State. They're not even, they might be FBS, but damn it, they're not FBS.
I actually was gonna text both of you before it happened. I was like, who's gonna get fired first, Luke Fickle or James Franklin? And we got that answer, but I think Luke Fickle could very well see his end come this week. So
He should have been
that
fired
was a
before
great
the
shout
season
out.
started.
Yeah, I mean Madison. I mean, hopefully they have some high quality basketball because right now the football it's not up to par. And I think with that we can go straight into week 8 look ahead. So as I mentioned earlier, LSU and Vanderbilt. That's going to be a huge SEC matchup. We have a rivalry game between USC and Notre Dame. Does USC spring one, or do you think Notre Dame takes care of business? Dad, we'll start with you.
Well, they've got Notre Dame favored by 8.5, and I think it's in South Bend there. I think it's going to be a close game. I think they'll cover that spread. SC should and possibly win that because they're doing pretty good. I mean, Notre Dame's doing good too, so it's going to be close.
Ole Miss and Georgia, a top 10 matchup. Who wins in Georgia? Alex, we'll go to you with that one.
Give me Lane Kiffin.
You're buying in?
I'm in.
Ole
Trinidad
Miss.
Chambliss is about to go for 300 plus yards.
Ole Miss was my SEC pick, so I
Kirby
can see it
Smart is
happening.
done for. He's finished.
Texas A&M, Arkansas. Does Arkansas have a chance against Texas A&M, or are we taking A&M spread?
Uh,
Aggies are winning by 40 points.
yeah, A&M's favored by 7.5. I'll take A&M. It's at Arkansas though, but
It could be in the Pacific Ocean.
yeah, I think they'll be favored no matter what. But yes. Mhm.
We'll see if ASU can have a response to getting blown out by Utah. Obviously, ASU didn't have their starting quarterback, Sam Levitt. I'm unsure of his availability for Texas Tech this week, but I think that could be an interesting matchup. But I think Texas Tech, if they lose this, it's going to be tough trying to respond after what's been a great season so far for Texas Tech.
Texas
So
Tech is not losing. Sam Levitt or not, dude. Forks down. The Sun Devils suck. Kenny Dillingham is nothing without Scootaboo.
Tech's favored by 12.5. They should win that game. Yeah.
They should be favored by 20 and a half.
Tennessee and Alabama. Alabama all the way, or are we thinking Tennessee can make some headway with Aguilar?
No way. Give me Roll Tide.
Yeah, same here. They're favored 8.5. Yeah, I agree with there.
And finally, the Holy War, as my dad mentioned, Utah and BYU. this game a deciding factor of who will make it to the Big 12 championship to face Texas Tech, or am I overstepping? What do you think, Dad? Our Big 12 expert.
I think so. Cincinnati possibly, but because that's the top four I mentioned. But I think the winner of this has got a good chance to play Tech for all the marbles.
Now for upset of the week, I decided to not go with just one and not two, not three, but four. I have four upset picks of the week. Arizona, give me them over Houston, the plus 1.5. Get that out of here. We're gonna go on the other side. Arizona's gonna win by more than 1.5. Georgia Tech and Duke. Georgia Tech is underdogs at Duke by 1.5. Same thing, flip it over. Georgia Tech's going to win by more than that. Washington and Michigan. Washington had a really big hiccup at Ohio State, or it was at Seattle, but Ohio State, they're up in the highest echelon of college football. But Michigan is coming off a loss to USC, and Michigan is favored by 6.5 at home. But I like Washington to cover. I don't like them to win, but I like them to cover. And Stanford, Florida State. Florida State needs this one. Mike Norvell could very well be like James Franklin and soon to be Luke Fickle, but his job's in. It's not secure. They're 3-3. Florida State. Dad, if you had to guess, when was the last time they won an ACC game? When would you guess?
Florida State, uh, they haven't won one this year, right?
Nope.
And last year they were like 2-10, so they won one last year, so it was the year before.
Yeah, that's correct. They've had their first loss in history to teams that they've never lost to. I believe Duke, and then I mean just losing to teams that they never lose to. Virginia. It's a rough going for Florida State. I think the expectations got a little bit too high after Alabama, and I think this is a must win against Stanford. But I do like Stanford covering that 16.5. Although I do have Florida State coming away, so I do have two upsets, and then I have some covering the spread. So, Dad, we'll go to you. Upset of the week. Who are you going with?
Um, well, I think Baylor can beat TCU. TCU's favored by 2.5, and that's in Fort Worth there. That may be a possibility. That one. And then the Houston, Arizona one. I'll go with Arizona. That's another one. I think there's a possibility. And um, that that's probably it because, well, yeah, Old Miss's dogs are by 7.5, but I'm going to go with Old Miss too because their dogs there in Athens. They're going to play between the hedges there. So that's probably three I can think of right offhand. Now, is that Stanford and Florida State? Is that in Tallahassee or is it at Palo Alto?
Tallahassee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think they can cover it because Stanford, trying to go a cross country trip, I think it's gonna be rough on them. They're not doing very good. What's
Yeah.
Stanford's record now? Three.
They're bottom of the barrel. They're not very good.
Then Florida State should win big.
Alex, upset picks of the week.
Yeah, I've got a couple. First, I want to start off with a nice little I believe it's a Friday game. Nebraska heading to Minneapolis to play the Gophers. I like Minnesota to pull the upset. I really like what Drake Lindsey's got going at quarterback. He's got some good wide receivers with Luke Brockington and the Tracy guy, as well as a couple of good running backs that split carries. That's my first one. And then my second one that I really like is Vandy over LSU. Nussmeier has not been looking that good. I like Diego Pavia. I really like what Vandy's got going. I think and it's in Nashville, I believe. So I really like Vanderbilt in that game. Um, and then the last one that I have here, sorry, got to scroll a little bit. Um, where is it? I like USC to pull off the upset. Go Trojans.
USC and Notre Dame. It'll be a showdown
It
on
always
Sunday.
is.
My one big prediction for this rest of this college football season, I think Texas Tech will win the Big 12, but they will not win a playoff game unless they switch their quarterback to their freshman Will Hammond. He came in again last week against whoever they played, but he played well. And I think Baron Morton, he can lead Texas Tech to the Big 12 championship game and a victory, but I think if they want to reach that next level and be in the college football Final Four potentially. I think they have to put in Will Hammond. I think he's just gives that a little bit of that extra edge. Dad, your big prediction for the rest of the college football season?
For the big prediction. Um, I think we can get two teams, two Big 12 teams will make the playoffs. That's a big stretch, but I'm going to predict it.
I was looking at last year's kind of the number from each conference, and SEC had three, the Big Ten had four, and then we had two from the ACC, one independent, and then one Big 12, and then obviously Boise State made it as well. So I was gonna kind of get a consensus from both of you for the SEC. How many teams do you think they can realistically get in there? Do you think four, or are they gonna go repeat with three, or even more? Alex, we'll start with you.
I think four. I think four. I think the most four likely ones are uh A&M, Bama, Georgia, and Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think the four mentioned earlier, Dad, you have to agree, or are you thinking a little
Yeah,
different for the
because
SEC?
right now Ole Miss, A&M, and Alabama are undefeated in the conference, and Georgia's right there. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised, Alex. I agree with you 110%. I think it'll be those four.
Now, we can end this with some shout outs. I wanted to give a shout out to King Miller of USC, that one of their running backs. He played an unbelievable game, had like 118 yards and a couple touchdowns in a great win over Michigan. I think USC really kind of helped Lincoln Riley's case for he helped his seat stay cool there in Los Angeles because Lincoln Riley he um, hasn't really carried USC to the highest points that they could reach. So, some closing thoughts before we film our NFL segment. Alex, we'll go to you for college football. What are you looking forward to as we kind of kick into high gear here in October?
Yeah, I have a few things. First, I want to give a. I know it wasn't how I wanted to see it happen, but I just want to give a big shout out to the Mean Green down there in Denton. Their first ever sellout in team history. They played a really good first half. Just unfortunately, things did not pan out in the second half like we wanted. I their effort, the way they played, the way the fans and the students and showed out and how the AD and the president worked together to allow students to get out of classes at noon that day to go tailgate and support the Mean Green. I really loved it all. Obviously, losing by 30 some points isn't fun, but I think they still have a shot at a really good bowl game. They do have some tough teams left on their schedule. But I think they can probably get to like, I think 10 wins, 9 wins would be cool and making a decent bowl game. Obviously, I think the playoff picture is probably out of the picture unless they were to somehow win the American. But I think Memphis and Navy and even USF are three teams that at this moment where we stand are probably better. But I do like where they're headed. And then I just want to shout out Miami. I think uh I think the Carson Beck story is doing a complete 180. I strongly despised him going into the season. Like I was happy that somebody stole his Lamborghini. Um just things like that. Like he's just a total tool. But he's turned on me specifically. I like what he's doing. He's balling out in Miami. I think he might be the best quarterback in the draft class come this coming draft. And then just to finalize a few things like I stated earlier, I really like Texas A&M to win the SEC. My bold pick is Texas A&M to become the 2025-2026 national champions. Um, I don't think it's crazy to say. They look damn good. And last but not least, the sooner the better in terms of firing Luke Fickell. Let's start a new era in Wisconsin. I love the Badgers. We should never get blown out and shut out. That's actually that I wanted to bring that up. Wisconsin getting shut out at home hadn't happened since November 8th of 1980.
Ooh.
That was the last time they got shut out at home. They got shut out at home on homecoming to Iowa. Um, yeah. So other than that, just reiterating everything I said, Go Badgers. And I think Arizona are 1.5 point favorites this weekend against Houston, if I'm not mistaken. So that should be a good game there down for the Wildcats, and hopefully they can keep on winning and make a good bowl. Scotty, I know you watch you watch the bowl for like the bowl predictions, so I wanted to ask you on that. And then last but not least, two teams that I never thought I would ever see in my lifetime enter the bottom 25 are both now Wisconsin and Penn State are both in the bottom 25 as of this week.
Hmm.
Dad, your closing thoughts
Oh,
here on
yeah. Well, yeah, the bowl thing that Alex pointed out, yeah, the Sun and Holiday Bowl were projected to go to one of them against ACC team like SMU or Virginia, but one of them has us going to the Frisco Bowl, which is a G5 bowl, and the only way we can go to a bowl like that is if we finish like 3-6 in conference, 6-6 overall, miss all those Pac-12 legacy bowls, and get into one of those bowls if another team doesn't have an opening. So we could squeeze the Frisco Bowl out or some other bowl. You never know.
if
Something
we
like
play
that could
North
happen.
Texas, we have to go.
Pardon?
Yeah.
If
If
we
it's a
play North Texas, we have to go and film a pod.
Okay, well, that's possible. So, and anything goes. So that's that. And but after this year, then they reorganize all the bowls, so we don't do a Pac-10 Legacy Bowl. It'll be all the Big 12 bowls. So see what those bowls are next year. But we worry about that. But I want to do a shout out to the bottom 25. 2 weeks ago, Louisiana, FIU, and New Mexico State won, which was good. And this week, Kent State, Liberty, Eastern Michigan, Florida Atlantic, and Bowling Green all won. So a big shout out to them, and hope some of the others that are, struggling in that can win some games and get out of the bottom 25 in that. So it's always I like to check those teams out and show them a little love that I always stick up for those underdogs. And hopefully they can get some victories and get some notoriety in that. So big shout out to the bottom 25 and see if they can pull up in that because I'm always pulling for them.
Now, before we wrap up, I've heard this week from multiple sources that Kurt Signetti from Indiana, he's been like probably tabbed as the number one selection for Penn State, who they would want and who would be like the number one candidate just with all the success he's had for Indiana. For both of you, Alex, we'll start with you. If Kurt Signetti was offered the job at Penn State, would you take it or would you stay at Indiana and pretty much become a legend and have a statue and all the things that would come with them and their success that they're seemingly going to have with him?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts on this. I'll make it quick. First, before they hired Signetti, didn't they go like 4-8, and then the next season they hire Signetti to make the playoffs, right?
Pretty
So
much, yeah.
yeah, why the hell would you leave Bloomington? Like, look what he is doing. I mean, I know Penn State has a historic legacy, minus a few years with a certain member of their staff, but I think I think Penn State is one of the most historic schools for football, and Indiana is really known for a basketball school. So why not turn Indiana into a football school and keep on doing what you're doing and become like the Bloomington version of LeBron James in Cleveland? Um, That's my thought. I say you stay. I have a couple thoughts also that I wanted to add. One, I think Matt Rule's the perfect coach for this. The Penn State alumni played for Penn State football. I think Matt Rule's an awesome candidate. Two, I think Matt Campbell is another awesome candidate. You know why I love Matt Campbell and Ames? But Matt Campbell has done everything possible he can at Iowa State. Iowa State is not a national championship contender. He became the most winningest coach of all time in Iowa State history. He took them and finished them with their best record ever in school history, and he has taken them to several high-level Big 12 bowl games. He has left his mark. He is without doubt the best coach in Iowa State history. Why not take your talent to a school that has the recruiting ability, the NIL money to win a national championship and make your mark in college football?
Dad, closing thoughts on
Oh,
the Penn
yeah.
State
Oh,
situation?
I agree with you guys. Signetti, you're right. He'll have the stadium named after him, whatever you want, statues and all that. But I think he should stay there because he's building his own reputation. He won't be in anybody's shadow like at Penn State. He'll be in everybody's shadow. He's his own man, and he can really make it in Bloomington. He'll have everything there. And Matt Campbell, yeah, he could go there. to Penn State, but he's of course going to have probably the stadium named after him in Ames. He's a
Yeah,
legend there, and that
absolutely.
so and he loves it in Ames, and it's a real neat town. So he's probably going to stick it out. He's been really loyal, and you're right. Matt Rule is from Penn State, and I'm watching some of the videos about him. He probably will take it if he gets it because he is from there and that. But whoever takes that job knows it's like mega high pressure, as you can tell, and that so. But again, they'll be offered a lot of money in that. So, but I hope that Iowa State and Indiana keep their coaches because they really are good and should have a chance to stay there and build up their schools and that. But hopefully, the next coach that comes to Penn State can maintain it. But it's so tough there because the standards are sky high at Happy Valley.
Can I tail really quick? Today the Penn State AD said publicly that they have reached out to Marcus Freeman for the job too.
Notre Dame's head coach.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, to add on to what Scotty was talking about, Matt Campbell, I mean, he's turned down two offers to be a head coach in the NFL in multiple different years, both with being with the Detroit Lions. So to add to what Scotty was saying, he's been loyal through and through. Ames has given them or the people of Ames have given their heart to Matt Campbell, and he's given it back to them in return. I think I think the only reason, like he would consider leaving is probably his own personal legacy and wanting to add the highest of high achievements that one could as a college coach, and that being making and winning a national championship. But everything else, I agree with Scotty.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's be interesting when these openings come up with all of UCLA and who all they pick as their
Arkansas.
coaches. Yeah, Arkansas and even Oregon, or yeah, Oregon State, and then Stanford actually fired their coach at the beginning of the season and running an interim all year, so that counted as another one. Troy Taylor at Stanford. So there's a lot of them. See who they all get by the end of the year, and see if they can build them back up.
Well, James Franklin can go from potentially being a college football playoff favorite to 15 days later being fired. Don't worry, both of you will be my co-host in 15 days. And that'll do it for the Rombough Show and Brotherhood Ballad podcast episode. NFL will be coming up shortly.
Really quick, James Franklin was the second highest buyout in college football history. The first, Jimbo Fisher from Texas A&M in 2023, $73.25 million.
Right.
And now they're going to win a college football championship, according to
2 years
Alex.
later.
That's what happens in college football. That's why we love it. That's why it's the greatest sport. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time.